They're feeding cows chemicals and they're calling it sustainability. Imagine this, a cow, a symbol of natural agriculture for millennia, is now being force-fed synthetic chemicals under the guise of saving the planet. This week, Arla Foods proudly announced they're adding Bovaer to their cow's diet, a chemical cocktail designed to cut methane emissions. The promise? A 27% reduction in methane. The reality? A dangerous experiment with nature, all in the name of profit. This is what they won't tell you. Bovaer isn't some eco-friendly breakthrough. The active ingredient 3-NOP has been linked to DNA damage, reproductive harm and endocrine disruption in animal studies. Pair that with industrial chemicals like propylene glycol found in antifreeze and silicon dioxide, you have a Frankenstein formula that has no business in the stomachs of living creatures. Cows are not the problem, industrial farming is. Cows have been digesting food and producing methane for thousands of years, long before climate change became a crisis. Their natural digestive system isn't a flaw, it's part of a balanced ecological cycle. The real problem? Factory farming, monoculture crops, and a food system designed for profit, not for sustainability. Tampering with nature has consequences. This isn't about methane. Feeding cows synthetic chemicals disrupts their delicate gut microbiome, potentially leading to nutrient deficiencies, health problems, and lower quality milk and meat. What happens when we turn living beings into profit-driven science experiments? History shows us it never ends well. So who benefits from all this? Not the farmers, not the consumers. Bill Gates, BlackRock and corporate giants pushing patented climate solutions while squeezing out small ethical farms. Every time a mega corporation claims to be saving the planet, ask yourself, when have they ever done something without a financial motive? So, what can you do? Well, boycott companies like Arla, Tesco and Morrison's that push these unnatural practices. Support local pasture-fed farms that let cows graze naturally. Choose grass-fed, raw dairy and meat from farmers who respect nature. Speak up. Awareness is power. The more people who know, the harder it is for corporations to get away with it. This isn't about saving the planet, it's about control. Don't fall for the greenwashing. Nature doesn't need fixing, it needs protecting. If you agree with this, if you're on board with this, like and share this with others. And as always, have your say in the comments and follow for more news, views and uncomfortable truths.
In Norway, Sweden and Denmark, they are forcing our farmers to put chemicals into the food of the cows so they will fart less and burp less. Reduce the CO2. Here we have a Danish farmer that was using this chemical and his cows started getting sick. And one of his cows actually died as well. So imagine what this does to the milk and the steaks, the most nutritious food we have. Listen to this.
Jeg har haft 2 tilfælde, siden vi startede, som det fik rigtig stor mavekrampe. Vi har haft dyrlyd søndag aften og behandlet den ko, men den ko kunne vi desværre ikke redde. Hun døde næste dag.
So he's saying that his cow died after using this government-approved chemical. There's so many ways they're already poisoning us, but this is the last straw. We're talking about the steak. We're talking about the cow. This is the holy grail of nutrition, okay, guys? We cannot let this happen. In Norway, we almost have 40,000 people who signed a petition against Bovaer, but we're still not enough people. We need more Norwegians to wake up, or else I'm just going to start my own farm and raise my own cattle and just become a cowboy, okay?
Why do we have to do all of this? Why do we have to jump through hoops just to exist? Why is every single part of life built like a fucking obstacle course? You wake up early, you sit in traffic, you work all day, you stress all night, and for what? Like, why do we need to get a degree to get a job, but we need a job to pay for a degree? Why do we have to pay taxes on money that we've already paid taxes on just to get taxed again when we try to spend it? Why does it feel like the finish line just keeps moving further away every time we try to take a step forward? And it's not like anyone's explaining any of this. We just get told that's life. No, that's bullshit. Life wasn't supposed to be a hamster wheel. Like half of us are running on fumes, doing everything that we're supposed to do, and somehow it still isn't enough. You can grind, save, hustle, sacrifice, and still be one medical bill, one rent hike, and one layoff away from losing everything. Tell me how that's normal. And the crazy part, we keep pretending that it's fine. Like collapsing under pressure is just part of adulthood. Like being exhausted 24/7 is some badge of honor. It's not, it's survival. And survival is not the same thing as living.
You've probably seen the headlines recently about Bovaer, or even supermarkets like Coles here that are using this additive in their beef. But if you don't know what Bovaer is, it's a cattle feed additive used to reduce methane by altering rumen digestion using the compound called 3-NOP. Sounds appetizing. And recently in Denmark, the government made it mandatory for farmers to feed their cattle Bovaer, with big fines and even the threat of jail time for non-compliance. But less than a month into the mandate, farmers began noticing serious health issues with their cattle, such as fevers, diarrhea, bloating, significant drops in milk production, and even cattle just dropping dead. Many farmers have said that when they stopped feeding Bovaer to their cattle, their health issues improved dramatically. Meanwhile, the manufacturer and the regulators maintain that it's safe, and they point to all the countries that have approved it. Yet farmer reports of the negative impacts just keep rolling on in, altering how a cow digests food to reach a methane target while the cows get sick and farmers struggle clearly isn't the way forward. We need to work with nature, not against it. But what's your take on Bovaer? Would you consume meat or dairy from animals fed this additive?
I've just been talking to a journalist in Denmark who tells me that at least 1,000 cows in that country have died because they've had Bovaer in their feed. There have been a load more that have been ill, and generally they have not produced as much milk as they should. So this has become a major scandal in the country, and they're going to stop putting Bovaer into the feed, because not only is it harming the cows, but obviously this poison is going to go into the food that we eat. The scientists, so-called scientists, said, oh, it's not a problem. No, it won't go into the food you eat. Well, of course it will. Of course it will. Not only that, but it'll go into their excrement, which goes into the land, which causes problems in the land. I mean, it's just utter madness. But the great thing is, he told me that in the UK, because consumers have kicked up such a stink about Bovaer and have absolutely boycotted a whole load of products that had Bovaer in it potentially, that the supermarkets have got behind it and they've actually stopped the experiment here. So it shows consumer power really is a power. We really can make a difference. And although they, the supposed they, not just the government, but whoever's behind the government, this international force, they are trying to basically get rid of us. I mean, really, seriously, through any means that they can. We can stand against it. We do have the power. There are more of us than there are of them. So we need to keep the pressure up, because they will try other ways. They're probably going to try it with mRNA shots, try and put the poison in them that way. So we have to keep awake, but we can stop this and we can stand together. Don't you think? Tell me in the comments.
Unless you've got your head buried in the sand, and quite a lot of people do, you'll now realise that governments and corporations are doing whatever they want to do, and they don't care what we think, and if we protest, they simply ignore it. It's going to sound woo-woo, but this is all part of a spiritual war. The gloves are off, and it seems that fair play is now out of the window while they do whatever they want to do. We're seeing this in digital ID. No one's asked for it, everyone's protesting it, but they're forcing it through anyway. We're seeing the farmers get taxed while governments bring in BlackRock to plan how they repossess the farmland. But even more urgent is that we now really need to watch what is going into our bodies. I can't stress this enough. We need to check labels of things that we eat regularly and do research. If there's anything there that looks dodgy, look it up. If you're someone who eats packaged food or fast food, it's almost guaranteed that there are going to be some nasty things in there. Because part of the spiritual war is to weaken your body and introduce foreign things that make it break down. We're seeing it with the Bovaer scandal, for example, where cows are now dying because of the poison they injected them with to stop them from farting. I mean, it's beyond ridiculous, right? We're seeing it with Appeal too, where the lovely Bill Gates is poisoning our fruit with a preservative that is also highly toxic. Same with flour made out of bugs. Basically, the plan is to make you weak and to poison you, or to poison the food chain and therefore you. So that's about food choices, but there is one more toxin that you cannot avoid, no matter how careful you are with what you eat. I'm talking about 5G radiation. It's hitting everyone's body all day, every day. They've done no safety testing on 5G, and I know lots of parents who are protesting against cell towers being put up in schools. And guess what? The parents are being completely ignored. Only very few people currently realise that wireless radiation is actually toxic to the body. If you want to get ahead of the game and do something about it, head to omniaradiationbalancer.com. I don't want this to be super negative because good things are coming, and that's why we're in this extremely toxic situation where they're chucking everything they can at us from over the fence. So remember that the night is darkest before the dawn. But right now, everyone needs to stay safe, and only you can save yourself. My 2 top tips are, number 1, watch what you put in your body, and number 2, harmonise all the EMF that you're exposed to.
We need to do away with convenience. It's that convenience trap that's got us where it's got us. So we all like going to the supermarkets because it's a convenient place to take your car and get everything in one spot. In the meanwhile, the people that are actually providing us with the food, the farmers, are suffering extremely badly, and there's a lot of propaganda around it. So do you remember 9 months or so ago where they were talking about Bovaer, the additive that they were giving the dairy cows to stop them farting and burping because each cow was producing 1 ton of methane per year? And the creators and the people that are pushing this, especially through Arla, have said that there was no chance that it was actually getting into the milk and the cows were not getting sick. Well, now news has come through from Denmark saying that the cows are actually getting sick and have done tests on the milk and the Bovaer is getting through.
This is a video about the Bovaer situation in Denmark, where farmers are being pushed by the government, by the company Arla, to poison our cows and our food supply with the chemistry drug called Bovaer. Our Food and Drug Administration has now admitted that a waste material from Bovaer will enter the milk and products from the milk and also into the meat. So we urge people around the world to help us boycott Arla so we could try and stop Bovaer in this way.
Now, Bovaer was produced in 2009. They knew that it would reduce methane, but they didn't have a use for it, not until they found a use for it. And the use of it means that dairy cows don't go out on the pasture and eat grass anymore. They're fed pellets with the additive. But it's funny how dairy cows are doing all the burping and farting, producing all of this methane, but other cattle, they're not. They don't burp or fart, apparently. It's only dairy cows that burp and fart. They're the big problem. In the meanwhile, we know that dairy farmers are getting screwed down on price. Earlier this year, we saw dairy farmers opening the vats and just letting all of the milk flow out all over the floor. They suffer and suffer. And for what? Because we like convenience. Similarly, but not the same, I passed the butcher's yesterday. Now, we had a really good deal on. Load of mince, load of chicken, a couple of steaks, and it was 24 quid. And you know that when you fry that mince down, it's not going to be pumped full of water and shit to make sure that the weight is up and they can charge you through the fucking nose for it. What you're getting is prime minced beef. No fucking shit additives. None of this saline solution, which means you lose 30% of the bulk. Same with the chicken, corn-fed. Especially when you're looking at Asda and they're charging $9.95 for a kilo of mince. 30% of that will be absolute shite. The butchers are now actually charging less than that. So why the fuck aren't we going to the butchers to get our minced beef? Same with our steaks. And our chicken, which is exactly the same thing, it's injected with a load of saline to bulk the fuck out. When you fry it, all pisses out of it, it's fucking minging. Go to your local butchers, get the good shit. And that's the point of this video. Don't get everything from your supermarket because it's convenient. Support your local farmers. Support your local baker. We all know that it's better for us anyway, and it's got to boost the local economy. And you cannot tell me for 1 minute that you're happy with Tesco's declaring $4 billion of profit every year. That does make me fucking sick. Anyway, more effort, less convenience. Who's up for that?
Farmers are hitting the roof. Tesco, they were one of the first to proudly announce that they were going to be putting Bovaer in their cattle feed. I wonder if they're going to be bragging about the fact cows are dying just a year later. They're messing with the food again. Tesco's store, Bovaer. The food agencies assured us it would be safe and effective. Many people were highly concerned about this additive being fed to cows especially due to the fact there was no data, there'd been no research. Just 1 year later, Danish farmers are hitting the roof. Their cows are falling sick. Some have even died. Never forget these brands, because Arla, Tesco's, Aldi, Marks and Spencer's, they were so quick to compromise your safety and the safety of their animals. We must remember the companies like Hook and Sons, Milk and More, the Modern Milkman, those who took a stand and said we will not be allowing this into our cattle feed. The people that obviously wanted to protect your health, and it certainly isn't this lot, and it definitely isn't Tesco. So to all of you who are pouring this milk down the sink, top marks for going with your gut instinct and not listening to the safe and effective press, which was wrong.
You drink milk because it's meant to be natural, right? But what if I told you that same milk might soon become from cows fed a chemical to make them burp less, and you wouldn't even know it's happened? Not on the label, no warning. You're not just drinking milk anymore. You're part of an experiment. Assalamu alaikum, my name is Dr. Adnan Azad. I'm a medical doctor and a pharmacist working here in the UK. Tesco's, Morrison's and Aldi are now working with Arla Foods to test a feed additive called Bovaer. The goal? To reduce methane emissions from dairy cows by up to 30%. Bovaer has passed regulatory approval in the UK and over 50 other countries. Approved doesn't always mean long-term safe, especially when used at scale. Bovaer works by targeting a specific enzyme in the cow's stomach that produces methane. It interferes with that biological process. Could that interfere with the other processes downstream in the food chain? At this stage, there's no published human data showing what happens if we consume dairy products from cows fed Bovaer over the long term. Again, we're the trial subjects. Most people buying milk will have no idea that the cows producing it were fed a synthetic additive. Whenever you interfere with a natural biological process, especially in something as complex as the gut, you have to look at the wider picture. What happens to the animal's health? What happens to the milk quality? And what happens to the people consuming it on a daily basis? We need to ask, was it tested on humans? Is there long-term data? Are there risks to gut health, hormones, the microbiome? These are questions we have to keep asking on pretty much everything we consume, because once this is rolled out on a scale, it won't be a trial anymore. It'll be in your weekly shop. This trial is currently happening across Arla farms, which have direct involvement with Tesco, Morrison's and Aldi. That means if you're buying own brand milk, cheese or yogurt from any of these supermarkets, especially products labelled as Arla or produced by Arla farms, they may soon come from cows fed this additive. Look for organic dairy, non-Arla producers or smaller local farms closer to you where feed transparency is clearer. Inshallah, I'll see you for the next one. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
So here we are, guys. A lot of the facts now regarding Bovaer, and I've pages and pages and pages of paper here, and I'm not going to go through them all because I don't want to bore you to death, but this is some dangerous shit. So there is a partnership from the supermarkets with Bovaer, predominantly Arla at the moment, and those partnerships are obviously Arla, Lurpak, Anchor, Castello, Apatina, and brands who have permitted partnerships with Arla Foods is Starbucks, Marks and Spencer's, McDonald's, Eco Milk, Tesco's, Sainsbury's, Asda, Morrison's, Aldi, Lidl, Waitrose, Co-op, and indeed Iceland. So we had one of the Danish guys on a live on Friday night, and they're in big trouble across there. They've got cattle that's aborting calves, they're dying, they're refusing to eat, and they're a year in front of us. So we're looking and going, a year down the line, are we going to be in that state? Highly possible. We can't guarantee that. Transpires also that Marks and Spencer's, their dairies must use Bovaer. They on the contract, they have to use Bovaer. If not, basically they don't get paid and they won't be allowed to supply Marks and Spencer's. It's supposed to be a trial, but yet there is a massive new big factory being built in Scotland,
which should be able to produce enough Bovaer to deal with 5 million cows. The Scottish Government are actually helping to fund that. They've given £10 million towards it. And all this crap is done in the name of net zero. That's all it is. All this bullshit and hype around net zero is what all this is about. And the supermarkets who are using Bovaer in their products, they're claiming the credits from the government, etc., and the climate control system to say we are getting towards net zero. But this new massive factory in Scotland, it operates machinery, and lots of it. When it's built, it's going to create an extra 400 jobs. Great for the employment industry. No fucking use for net zero, is it? Even if that factory is running at net zero, the staff aren't going to be to get there. All the members of staff, they're not going to walk, bike, or get an electric bike, or whatever to get there. It's just bollocks. So milk contracts and processor supply terms are quietly being rewritten to make methane reduction compliance a condition of sale. And once that happens, it stops being a choice and becomes a commercial coercion. So some of the farmers are going to be forced to use this. We wanted to know what is in Bovaer. What is it actually made of? Why is it not classed as a poison? NOP3 or 3-NOP is a nitrate ester compound, a synthetic derivative of 1,3-propanediol carrying a nitro-oxy group. The same function group exists in nitroglycerine and amyl nitrate, both potent biological agents. So in the cow's rumen, 3-NOP inhibits an enzyme used by methagenic archaea to make methane. It does this by binding to the nickel ion and in the enzyme, chemically blocking part of the microbial metabolism. That is why the regulators can call it a feed additive, but mechanicalistically it's a metabolic inhibitor, a mild biochemical poison to microbes, but not to the host. That's the theory. Now they state that Bovaer should not get into the milk and the meat. Not will not, should not. Big difference there, isn't there? But no tests are available. Apparently, legally it is called a feed additive. Scientifically, it's a controlled metabolic inhibitor. So it isn't a poison in the regulatory sense yet, because it does not trigger overt toxicity. But yet, it's only been trialled, or the tests was only trialled, in laboratories for between 3 to 12 weeks. Not a full cycle for the cow, not the rumens, not out in farm data, not out in farm related grounds and whatever, but indeed in a laboratory. Big shit this, isn't it? Now, we have got enough information now to go to government, i.e. the FSA, DEFRA, and say, we want to know what tests has been done on the milk, on the meat, on the dairy products of the animals that are fed Bovaer. Now, obviously, there is no tests, because we've proven no tests are available. The manufacturers have made sure of that, because it hasn't been tested in actual farm life. So, under the laws of UK and food standards, that means we can get an immediate stop to these trials until full tests are compiled and responded to properly. And we're not going to ask for trials and the data what they have. We want it coming out to public consultation so that every member of public can get involved with this and go, I don't like the idea of that. It doesn't read right. It's not going to be done behind closed doors. We're going to get this out in the open once and for all. So guys, I've got sheets and sheets and sheets of paper, but I don't want to bore you forever. But thanks for watching. Keep sharing, liking, subscribing. We're flat out on this, and when it comes to the government department is where that's where I come into song and come into play, and we'll deal with this that way. So see you soon, guys. Ta-ra for now.